Hello everyone, welcome back again in the continuation of the lecture of series of the web series. Today we are going moving forward. In last lecture, basically, if you remember, we have learned about the how basically a client can interact with the server and how a server is respond back to a client. And this is basically a diagram basically we have used in the last lecture. I have just made again this diagram because I have not saved it. Okay. In general web series, basically a client basically requests a server some information and server will basically respond back to a client, okay, with some response. Okay, and in last lecture basically we have learned how basically we can create a web service and how can basically we basically create a web service and we will give the web service URL to the client. Basically they will hit the URL and they will basically uh, to request their information and finally they will get a response back. Okay, this is the web service URL basically, and this is basically the prefix and whole URL is like that. Okay, now this is basically called a IIB as a web service provider. Basically, we are creating a web service and providing to a client. Okay, this is called as a IIB as a web service provider. Now we are going to deal with the IIB as a web service consumer. Okay, then what does it basically it means? Okay, for that let me open one more page basically. Okay, let's consider this. Let's consider this as a. Let me can I able to draw. Let's consider this as a whole as a as a. Consider this whole as a. Okay, what my point? Let's consider whole this as a system A and it is like this system A. Yes, system A. Okay. Now let's take a scenario. Someone from the source system send some message. Okay. Someone from the source basically they send some message to at our IIB system basically at basically IIB system, and they are basically expecting this detail basically to insert into database basically. Mm, they are expecting these details to insert into a database. Okay, so someone from the source, let me use the text, someone from the uh, source send some message basically, message, someone from source send some message, and this message came to IIB, or you can say it IBM S, and from here it is expecting that this should be you know to the go to a this database. It will take some time. This database, please. This database. Okay. And assume like that. assume like that this database is not our database. This database is another system database, another third party database, or uh, another team. Like let's consider that the some backend system database, some another like that SAP system database, or some called ECC system database. Okay, some other system or some e-commerce system database. Okay, or some other like that you consider as some Unix database, other system database is there. Okay, this is not our database, and that team basically created a web service. That team basically their team created a web service, and that web service is used to insert the into table. But they are expecting the detail in form of this as a detail in form of request. So our demand is someone from the source is sending some message with detail, and this is coming to our IIB system, and where another team basically another team given their web service URL that we are going to use to insert into their table. So we are going to use IIB as a web service consumer. We are going to deal with the IIB as a web service consumer. Okay, how IIB can be act as a web service consumer. Okay, so here basically here if you are talking about that, uh, we are going to deal someone from source. Let's assume this message. Let's assume this message. Someone from the source sending this message in the form of XML, that is transaction XML. Under that data tag is there. Under the transaction number, he is giving date, he is giving a store number, he is giving quantity, he is giving amount, and he is giving delivery address. Anything you can give. Okay, he is giving like that. Okay. Now this information is sent by some source system to here. Okay, this is coming to our IIB end, or our IIB is using this web service URL, that is another system web service URL, and that web service URL basically work to insert this detail into this table. Now, but for inserting into this table, this web service only work if we give a request to the server in form of only this. If you don't give a request in form of this, then this is not going to work. So what we are going to do? We are going to do it like that. We will take this message from the input, that is from the source, and we are going to convert this message in form of this. Again, we are going to expose this message to this web service, that is we are using here. And again, once we expose this message with this web service URL, this web service is going to be invoked, and detail are going to be inserted into the table. Again, we are going to get a response back in the reply. Okay, now let's implement it. Hope what I am going to create, it is understandable to you. So let's create it. So this web service already I have created. Why it is giving wrong? What target name is this property to learn about this product. Okay, leave it, whatever. Let's create the another application and name as IIB as I'll just give it right. You can write any name. Okay, click on next. I want to use exception handler, which you just use exception handler, and I'm not going to use any library. This library, leave it as it. If I am going to use, then I will later map it. You don't need to worry. Now, for now, it's fine. Let me create the message flow. For message flow, write the name, any name, IB Edge consumer um, MSU. Now leave this as a use the any default broker schema name as per your choice. Okay. Now click on finish. My message flow has been created. Now let's implement the web service. If you see this diagram, basically, if you see this diagram, someone from the source is sending some message in form of this. So we need some input node, MQ input node to send some information. So let's use the MQ input node. And we are exposing some other system web service URL. For this we need SOAP request node. SOAP request node, let me give a brief order. So SOAP request node is used when IIB is act as a consumer of web service URL, out web service. Here from this here, let me just create the whole diagram, then it will be more understandable to you. With the transformation node, that is the compute node, one more compute node, and the one output node. Now it's okay. Let me quickly join it. Now the out node. Now here there is a fault and there is a failure. So fault node basically we connect here. Okay. Now exception handler. Let me connect this in case some exception happen. Now let me connect here and here. Now here basically here we are going to provide the request for request, and here we are going to get a response. Okay. Now it's done. Let me remove the default code that's giving the error. That let me save it. Error will be gone. You can see error will be gone. Now let me here also remove the default code. Here error will be also gone. I save it. That will be gone. Now MP input node, I need to provide a queue name. Later I will do it. Let me provide it now. I'm going to use a queue. What is the queue name I'm going to use? Let me check it. There is a queue name for it, in.queue. Then let me use it. And for the out.queue, let me use the both. So in.queue, in.queue. I'm going to use input. Connection it is okay. MQ input parsing, we are sending message in form of XML. So let's select each XML and SC. Parsing of timing is let's select each complete. In case of error happen, we will get import detail. Advanced transaction mode, yes, it will left it. Validation, we don't want to validate anything. Now it's okay for the complete input node. Now let's come back to the MQ output node. The MQ output node in give the queue name, that is the out.queue. Connection is all okay. No, okay. Now come to the SOAP input node. Basic, we need to give the visual of the web service in basic. In basic, we need to provide the web service detail and also web service URL we need to provide here, because our to understand the web service more information, we need the web service web visual and for the SOAP based, and also we need the web service URL that needs to be hit, because once the request will came here, this is going to hit this web service, and again this is going to insert into this table and going to get a response back about the website. So we have not referenced the web service. We have not referenced the library of the visual. Let it reference it. I just reference the library. You see, I will reference the library and exception handler both. Now I can see, I save it. Now I can import it. Now you can see it is now visible. Now everything came here. If you see, let me show you. You see, everything came here. Now let's keep the web service URL already came from the here. Let me show you. From here it already came. Okay. This is the request down, timeout, second, everything given, everything, leave it blank, leave it default. Transaction mode automatic, leave it. So by default it came. Parsing, timing, make it complete. In case of some exception happen, we will get a whole detail. Validation will make it exception list. And just save it. Now you can see all error has been gone. Now it's basic configuration I have made it for the all nodes. Now it's time to write a code. In case of failure happen, here in this node, the error will search for the back out for the previous node cache terminal. The previous node cache terminal, there is no previous node cache terminal. It will again go previous node, and here they will get a cache terminal. Error will be going here. Again, I want to send some this to the this output. Because of some exception happen, this will go here. Okay. Now this is all done. Now let me explain you a little more. Let's take a scenario. Someone from the source is sending this message. Okay. And here we are going to convert this message in form of this, and we are going to produce this message to the this web service, which already I have given detail here. Okay. Again they will give a response from here, and this response will flow here, and we are going to get in output as a response. In case of exception happen, this will go here. Okay. Now my concern is my concern is let's write the code. Let's write the code to convert this in form of this. We need to write code to convert this in form of this. Okay. So how can I write it? We need to first declare the namespace. So I have already declared here. So let me copy from here itself to reduce some effort. So just declared it from here. I have declared from the here itself. Now declare the input reference. Declare and ref reference to input root dot XML is because we are taking as form of XML. Now after that it is transaction. After that it is data, and under data it is transaction number and date, store number, quantity, amount, everything is mentioned here. Okay. So till data, let's declare it. Till data, I have declared a reference with INREF. Till data, I have declared a reference with INREF. Using the INREF.transaction, I can access this. You can INREF.date, I can access this. You can INREF.store, I can access this. Similarly, I can quantity and amount and delivery address, I can access it. Okay. Now, I have declared the namespace of this already. Now, I need to declare the soap body and this thing. Okay, everything, and then after that I need to assign the value against this. Okay. So now let's create the field. Create field output root, and under output root soap under soap body, under body it is under soap body it is, let's select from here, is this. Let's create in this. I am creating basically creating a soap output with soap. Under soap it is body. Under soap it is body. Under body it is transaction with the namespace tran. And you already know for the soap involved like this namespace, we don't need to declare. We don't need to mention here because it is by default. If you're not taking it, will by default take it. Okay. Now let's declare it. Declare out ref reference to C. I have declared till outref. Now I just declare the input reference till data so that I can fetch these details. I have uh, created the field till this, and I have declared that this till this as a outref. Now it's time to assign the value. Set outref dot, it is this is equal to inref dot transaction number. Similarly, we need for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more column. Let me copy quickly. 2, 3, 4, and 5. I just need to change it. So next, it is the transaction date. Let's copy it and paste it here. We are just assigning under transaction date this value, that under the store, under this, under the quantity this. Only I am assigning like that. What are the value coming input? I am assigning. What are the value coming in input? I am just assigning in the question mark, you can say, against each. So let me do it quickly without killing the time. Transaction date, store number, and quantity, again it is total amount and delivery address. Total amount and delivery address. Let's quickly define the input reference against each. The input is transaction number. Let's quickly write it in 2 seconds. Transaction number, I think already written it. Let's quickly write the test date. And then again, store, then the quantity, then each amount, then is delivery address. Now it's all done. So I have written the simple code. What I am doing, I am just taking this as an input from the source. I am converting this message in form of this, and after that, let me copy it here. I think it will be You will understand more. With me, I am just what I'm doing. I'm just taking this message from the input. After that, I am converting this message in form of this. Now, afterward, I am going to push this message, which is the request message for this server. So I am going to hit this request with this server, which is this. After that, this is going to the insert this detail into this table, and they are going to give a response as per this. Further, this response I am going to get from the here, and I am going to get in detail output. To get in output, what I need to write here, I need to just write here set output root. What are coming in the input set, just send it to output. Simple logic. That's all. Now that's all my diagram has been ready. Now just quickly add some breakpoint. Okay. Now it's all done. Now this is all done. Now it's time to do some experiment to see how it's working. Okay. This is my initial web service, that is the SOAP service transaction, that is the synchronous with the SOAP input, SOAP reply node. This time this is called as a IIB as a web service provider. Now we are using this as a IIB as a web service consumer. We are basically using other web service, we are consuming other web service. We are not providing the web service. Someone is giving me the web service. I am just going to use their web service to insert into their database. Okay. We are using their web service to give some detail. Okay. Now let's me quickly build the bar file. Where is the bar file? IIB as consumer. Just leave. Okay. Now let's me select this, build and save. Done. Now let me deploy it. Now let me launch the debugger. So please let me also get the breakpoint. Now let's hit this message. To hit the message, I need RFSU2. Let me connect the QIN node Q. Let me select the message. My message is, that is a transaction.xml. Okay, that is this one. Fine. Now let me write it. Once I write, you can see message has came. Now let's go inside the. You can see in just in input message is coming like that. Okay. Now in output, we are just creating the field. Just let me quickly go through it. Okay, I just move forward. In output, we created like this. Under SOAP underscore body, it is the transaction request. In output, we created like this. Now we are going to expose this to this web service. Once I expose this to this web service, this will directly came here. Again, this will go inside the compute mode, and Again, it will go in this computer and it is going to the insert to the this table, that is the transaction detail, and this is going to give a detail. Now we are getting some error. Okay, let's see what is the error. Let me some copy here. The expecting an intake invalid content. Okay, trans number. Okay, a schema validation error occur while parsing the XML document. What is wrong happening? Hmm. What I have done a mistake. Let me show you. The easy mistake I have done. That's I don't need to do. If you remember in the previous lecture, by mistake I have created a widget which support instead of transaction number it is transaction status. And that thing basically I have used here. I have to use the transaction number and transaction status. I think it is okay. Transaction number and transaction. I think it is okay. Then why it is now it's going wrong? Okay, good. Okay. Then where is the wrong? And the transaction number which is showing as a wrong. Okay, let me see. Let it going down. This is the message, and we are trying to send in the, if you remember, the MQ input node, and this is so basically we are declaring and we are setting it in the making it in the form of this request, and we are exposing this to the web service. This web service where this here it is act as a consumer, and again it will provide response, and whatever the response coming we are just setting into output, and again we are getting this response as into the this queue which is the output queue. Okay, this thing basically we are doing. Okay, if you remember this error we are getting while troubleshooting. So I just go through the error and found that there is something written either written CSV complex type expecting an intake invalid content was found on the element trans dot number. It is saying some trans dot number is used which is not expected. I was just checking the code where is the trans dot number, so I found that trans dot number is present here. You see trans dot number is present here. When we are using trans dot number from the database, somehow it is not accepting in the code and giving the error. Code is saying that trans dot number is not expected. So let's remove the trans dot this code, this part, and use some other line. So I have what I have done. I have just done nothing. Let me show you. Instead of trans dot this select query, I just directly fetching value from the IN dot transaction. number. I am directly fetching value from here itself. I am directly fetching value from here itself. Okay. So I'm directly fetching value from here itself. So once we are sending value from here, let me clear this all broken from beginning. This is my web service as a consumer. Once we send transaction, this transaction, this is going to be converted into the request here. By using this code, we are declaring the input reference, and further we are creating the output field. Under the output, we are declaring the namespace. After that, we are just under the output, under transaction, we are setting a transaction number like this, this. We are setting all values, and we're creating a request. This request we are exposing to this web service. Here we this web service. This web service is actually this web service is actually this web service. We open the message is actually this web service. The message it will came here. From here it will go to this compute node. On the compute node it will create it will insert into the table. After inserting to table it will create a response. In response, transaction number and transaction status which we are taking. Transaction number we are taking from the here itself, request itself, and transaction status we are placing. Saying it is successful. After that, we are sending it to SOAP reply. From SOAP reply, it will come to here. Whatever coming input, we are just setting into output and sending it to the return to it into MQ output terminal. It will go to the MQ output. In MQ output, that is out.q, we will get the reply. Okay, so let's debug it. Okay, so let's debug it. Let me launch. Already debugger is launch. Let me put the message. Let me write 600. I am writing transaction number as this, transaction date. Let me write it as a 2 October. 2 October, store number let me keep it as a 1225. Quantity leave it 4, and this will be proper test bill Kolkata. Okay, this thing I want to insert. So let me select this message from here itself. That in the in.q. I have selected this message. Let me write it. Once I write, debugger has came. You see, first it will go inside the request node, it will create the request. Now I have just passed the request node. If you can see here, request has been created under SOAP, under body it is transaction, transaction number, under context it is namespace. This in the form of a request it is created. Okay. Now this request we are going to export to the web service. Now it's come to the SOAP input node, the other application. Now from here it will go to the compute node. In compute node, it will create the request and response. Just you can see here, request has been created. That is the transaction number that we have sent here, and the transaction status is transaction has been placed successfully. And these are the namespace that we have used. After that, let's move outside. You can see message has flow successfully to the out terminal. From here, we can create the response. The in response, whatever coming in the input, we are just sending it to the output. We are doing nothing. And let's move outside. Now you can see what coming in response. Just see here. In response, you can see. Let me show you. In body, in the body, it is coming a transaction number, and transaction number, this is coming in the response. Okay. Now this is basic. This is coming, and also you can see here the context thing is coming, header thing is coming. These all thing also come into the response. If you don't want to send, then you have to write some more code to ignore this. Let me send it. You can see same thing will be present in the as a response. You can see this is basically the header part and the show part. After that, this is the namespace part, and this is under body. This you can see the transaction number. It is a 216,006, 216,006, and the transaction status is successful. This is we are getting the response. Okay, same thing. If you see, it has been inserted into our database. So let me show you. Let me connect the database. It will take some time. Let me now. I have just opened the query tool. Let me write the select star from connection detail. Where let's run it. We'll get it. If you see here, this is the transaction number at 216,006. This is the transaction number that is inserted into the transaction date is 2 of October. Store number is 1225 and the quantity is 4 and the amount is 200 and the location delivery location is Kolkata, India. Okay, you can see same thing here is also present here. So this is all about the web service IIB acting as a consumer. Okay. So in this, let me just brief you what I am doing. In case of IIB, when IIB act as a provider, so what we are doing, we are creating a web service and we are giving the web service URL to the client, and client will use that web service URL to request the information from the our server, and server will respond back to the with the response. In this case, once we are inserting into the database, after that our server is responding back to the client. Okay. Now in second scenario, we are using web service as a consumer. How? Let's take that web service that you see here. That web service is not our web service. This is another system web service. They have just created web service that inserts the transaction into their database, and they have given us the digital and the web service URL. Now we have imported the web service visual and given the web service URL here, and we are just and they have given us this is basically the format of our input that we can accept it. Okay. Now what we are doing, we are just and someone from the source is sending the transaction details in the form of XML. We are converting into the form of request and giving this to the web service, and this web service providing the response, and this response we are sending into the output. This is simple thing we are doing. Okay, this is the importance of the what web service basically do. Okay. Okay. Now this is all about the web service as a consumer. If you have any doubt on this topic, you can comment me or you can send me a mail. And hope you have interesting time. We will meet again with the new topic. Thank you so much. Thank you all.